Tonight, opposition NDC files petition with the Commonwealth alleging judicial persecution and accusing the president of running a democratic dictatorship targeted at the NDC.
Send a team to investigate the matters raised in particular and send a team of lawyers, judges, and legal experts to assess the adequacy and quality of the justice being administered to members of the NDC who are facing criminal prosecutions.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone and Prime Insurance. Rest assured, you are insured. The opposition National Democratic Congress has tonight filed a formal petition with the Commonwealth alleging judicial persecution and accusing the president of running a democratic dictatorship targeted at the NDC. The party argues that the current administration is using the courts to persecute its members, citing the ongoing cases involving the national chairman of the party, Samuel Fusu, former Cocoa Board CEO Dr. Stephen Opuni, among others. General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Sirinkiti, alleges that the presiding judge in the case of Stephen Opuni versus the Republic, Justice Clemens Honyanuga, has demonstrated bias against Stephen Opuni, a situation he believes sharply contradicts its tenets. They want the Commonwealth to send in a delegation to probe their concerns. Well, they've been addressing the press conference today at the party's headquarters. Listen to Johnson Sirinkiti speaking to the press earlier today.
There's a case of Dr. Kisel Atuforsen, who has been very persistent in calling government to account for financial malfeasance and making sure that if government does not account for its stewardship, then it will be difficult for the nation to contribute further resources by way of taxation to that government that has declared itself unaccountable to the citizens. From nowhere, charges have been trumped up and put on this honorable member, and is now, before the courts. We think that this deviates clearly from Commonwealth standards, and we should not maintain our membership and continue to perpetuate bad governance that runs counter to the core beliefs of the Commonwealth of Nations. The actions of the government of Ghana create conditions that threaten Ghana's political stability and further erode our democratic values. It is very unfortunate that after riding on the high horse and banner of a human rights activist, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has become a democratic despot who brooks no opposition. The petitioner believes that in line with the objectives of the Commonwealth of Nations and the Harare Declaration, it is appropriate that we address this petition to this honorable body. The persecutions, threats, and killings of supporters of members of NDC violate the values and objectives of the Commonwealth and will create conditions that will threaten and jeopardize the peace and security of Ghana.
So what exactly is the NDC asking the Commonwealth to do?
We humbly request that the Commonwealth of Nations, through your good offices, to 1. Closely follow the political and human rights situation in Ghana, since the promotion and protection of human rights, democracy, and fundamental freedoms is a core value of the Commonwealth. 2, send a team to investigate the matters raised in particular and send a team of lawyers, judges, and legal experts to assess the adequacy and quality of the justice being administered to members of the NDC who are facing criminal prosecutions. 3, continue to engage with the government of Ghana and support and encourage their pursuit of accountability for the perpetrators of the Ayawaso West Wogon constituency by-election violence and the gruesome state-sponsored killings of 8 innocent Ghanaians during the 7th December 2020 general elections. Monitor the human rights situation in Ghana and the criminal persecution of members of the NDC. Engage with a broad range of actors, including government officials, political parties, representatives of society, to respect, promote, and protect human rights in Ghana, and call upon the government of Ghana to put a stop to these persecutions, harassments, threats, and killings of supporters and members of the National Democratic Congress.
Joining me right now is Mr. Frank Davis. He's the head of the governing party's legal team. Also joining me is John Sissoudi Nketia, whose voice you just heard there, is the General Secretary of the NDC. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time here on Top Story. Mr. Frank Davis, so this is a petition that has formally now been filed with the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Secretariat, taking this to their London headquarters, raising very serious allegations and issues against your government, which is that there's persecution of individuals, and there is general democratic dictatorship, so as has been captured here. You've had the concerns raised. Legitimate?
First of all, good evening to your esteemed and cherished listeners. Evans said when you were talking, it was a bit faint. So what actually is the complaint?
So the complaints border on harassment, criminal, let me quote here. The NDC wishes to bring to the attention of the Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations various acts of human rights violations, criminal persecutions, and harassment of its members and supporters by the government of Ghana. They go on to cite a few cases, the Republic versus Stephen Kwabena. They cite the case of the Casey Latil forcing. They cite the case of the national chairman and others. Legitimate?
Illegitimate. I honestly cannot find any reason, any basis for what the NDC is intent on doing. I mean, this knee-jerk reaction, I mean, you see, is the NDC trying to tell Ghanaians that their supporters or their officers are above the law? Is that what we are being told? In the first place, who defines what is criminal persecution? Who defines what is criminal persecution? I mean, if you are charged with an offense, in Ghana the threshold is even better. You don't need to prove your innocence. It is the state which proves your guilt, and the guilt is beyond reasonable doubt. The slightest doubt inures to the benefit of the accused person. Now, if charges have been preferred in court and the prosecution is being rolled, I wonder how anyone can complain of harassment and persecution. Now, if you falling foul of the law, should you be taken to a fetish group or a shrine or a cave in some forest? You obviously have to go to court and answer your charges. So if they are in court, they have the best of lawyers. They should let the court system roll. Is the NDC trying to tell Ghanaians that when they were in power, they didn't arraign NPP officers before court? It was the shallowness of the prosecution and the charges that they preferred, which made most of the people they arraigned before court, they were set free. because they couldn't prove those charges. Are they trying to say, the General Secretary is on, is he trying to say that when they were in power, they didn't prosecute any single MPP person and did we complain of persecution? I mean, come on, Evans, you see, we should learn to grow the state. We should learn to grow the state. I thought we said we believed in institutions. So if the court system is working, the NDC is trying to say that because it's NDC, they should not be arraigned before court. Gee, I mean, what are we saying? Who is harassing who? Opponent is in court. He has his lawyers. Keselatu when I think when the charges were preferred, he had a press conference and rubbished the charges. So let us see what the court system comes out with.
I mean, Mr. Davis, they cite the Ms. Opuni case as an example, and they bring up the conduct of the trial judge, Justice Nyanuga, of course, who is now the Supreme Court, and they point to the fact that they point to his pronouncements asking people to vote for President Akufo-Addo, and no matter when we know it's involving political figures such as that, since then they've been fighting to at least get him to recuse himself. And they say the entire judicial system has conspired to still keep him as a judge of this matter, where they don't trust that justice will be seen to have been done in the matter. And that's why they've sent this petition. One of the reasons they've sent a petition to the Commonwealth.
Evans, is it your own language you're choosing, or is the language of the NDC? What is the meaning of the judicial system has conspired? Is it your own language, or is it the language of the NDC? What is the meaning of the judicial system has conspired against them?
They don't believe there's fairness in the judicial system grants them fairness in these specific cases they put before the Secretary General of the Commonwealth.
Did they not argue in court? Was a ruling not handed? Were they prevented from assessing the court system? When they said Opuni should recuse himself, were they prevented from assessing the court system? The matter went to court, they argued and the judges ruled. So that the mere fact that the judges ruled against them, it means there's a conspiracy. I mean, come on, let's stop this thing. You see, let us stop belittling the systems we have in this country. We want to have a strong judiciary. We want to have a strong legislature. We want to have a decent executive. So if the three arms of government are working, who complains? No, was Opuni not given all the opportunity to assess the court system? Is he still not assessing the court system? Last week I was in the Supreme Court. He was there with his lawyers. Samuel Kujo was there for him. I mean, so what's fairness again? No, I'm asking you, Evans, what fairness? And what is the conspiracy? Well, the mere fact that judges have ruled in a case against you, it means the judges have conspired. Is that the definition of justice that the NDC understands? Anytime a case goes against them, then they are carrying foul. Is that their definition of justice?
I mean, stay with me, because the General Secretary who spoke to the petition at the news conference joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Johnson Seydou Nketi, I'm grateful that you could join us. As I read the first paragraph of your petition, you raise issues.
It's a little bit.
It's faint. Can you hear me? Is it better? Is it any better?
I'll manage, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I just read your petition, and you talk about violations, criminal persecutions, harassment against your members. You cite specific examples, but these are cases before a court of competent jurisdiction. Same court that, I mean, has ruled both sometimes in your favor, sometimes against you. Why this time? Have you come to a conclusion that the courts are somehow harassing and persecuting your members?
Thank you very much, and good evening to listeners. Evans, I have heard my colleague on that, and I didn't expect him to say anything different, because it is the conduct of the government to which he belongs that we are referring to the Commonwealth Secretary. So it would have been unfair for him to concur with us. But the fact that he holds that opinion does not take anything away from our petition. Yes, I heard him talking about people being sent to court. It's not about people being sent to court. When the court system is weaponized against the citizens, then it doesn't matter whether an offender is sent to court or not. And that is how democracies die. So the complaints we are making to the Commonwealth is to the effect that we are members of the association. And the association has a standard for good governance. So we perceive the government of our country of deviating from the standards of good governance. So we are drawing the attention to the Commonwealth Secretariat. But we have cited the right for self-determination, which has been denied the people of South. Which country can you have a functioning democracy where a whole area is excluded from electing a member of parliament to represent them in parliament? That is an aberration of democracy. We have cited the issue of freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and so on, when people are hounded for merely speaking, even though we claim not to have criminal libel laws. You arrest people left, right, center, like in the police state, for speaking against a first lady, for instance, when the first lady has access to the courts. So the misuse of the police against the citizens, the selective justice, because we are all told that there must be equality before the law. It's one of the key Commonwealth principles. Ask him whether there is equality before the law in this country.
What's the evidence to suggest there isn't?
Respect for human dignity, the way and manner suspects are picked and maltreated and treated as if they are guilty even before they are sent to court. Why should it be happening in 21st century Ghana? And many other things. We have a right to fair trial, which we have cited in Opuni's case. We are talking about protection of personal liberty and the right to life. How can you have a democracy where 8 people have been shot and killed in an election? And more than 1 year now, nothing, absolutely nothing has been heard about by way of government prosecuting the perpetrators and so on. And you expect us to keep quiet? And the use and weaponizing of the General Legal Council against lawyers who are seen to be holding opinions that are different from MPP.
But Mr. Sodekete, on the subject of the General Legal Council, it's a council that is a professional body and has regulations. If you indeed misconduct yourself, the council has the right to look into the matter. Not necessarily that they would find you guilty, but they are obliged by the rules governing the profession to do so.
In theory, you have it as a professional association. We are saying that it has been weaponized against lawyers who hold principles, who hold the beliefs of social democracy. Look at the lawyers who have been arraigned before the General Legal Council, and then compare what they claim their offenses are, as compared to those who belong to the MPP fold, who have said worse things and gone scot-free.
Such as, give me an example of that you believe that should have been acted on that hasn't been acted on.
Didn't you hear the former rector of the law school, who said that the courts, as they exist now, cannot guarantee justice to the law students who are seeking to take the General Legal Council to that court? Didn't you hear that? Has anybody called him to question? And if another person says that if judges behave like politicians, they will be treated like politicians, what is wrong? What the hell is wrong with any such statement?
Yeah, but somebody filed a complaint. The magistrates themselves filed a complaint. Somebody must trigger that process. You have respectable members of lawyers in your party. Nobody have picked up on this matter you raised.
So where somebody is seen to be insulting the Chief Justice, to be seen to be insulting the other lawyers, what happened to Kennedy Ajapon's case when he openly insulted a judge? What has happened to him? He's working.
Let me bring Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, I mean, he cites some other examples beyond the courts. I mean, certainly, you've been in court. Certainly, we had an election in 2020. People died. Almost 2 years on, we don't have closure. The people who died, their families are there. That definitely shows, at least from the NDC's point of view, that the police itself isn't willing or incapable of looking at the matter, and an external body like the Commonwealth Secretariat should definitely take it up. Isn't that fair?
Evans, you see, don't get swayed by this generalizations. I mean, you are too experienced for that. I mean, you see, I think I cannot articulate what they even want. Just flip-flop it. I mean, this business of he saying that he doesn't think I'll say anything otherwise because I'll be upset. I don't begrudge him for what he's saying. He's arguing the position of his party. Is he not? Am I supposed to argue his position? No. But you see, let us take the issues as they come. He spoke about the General Legal Council. Let me give him one classical example. You see, they don't read and they don't want to read. The Sosu he mentioned. Sosu was disbarred by the General Legal Council. He went to the Human Rights Court. That decision was overturned. Was a studying not in this country? Or is it still not here? Sosu, he's walking around. His license has been restored. What is that in Gita talking about? I mean, they just pick things and say them when the evidence is clearly against them. This business of these people being shot, it's unfortunate. Nobody wishes that a human being should lose his life because that life cannot be restored. The only person who rose from the dead in recent history was Jesus Christ. Nobody else has. So nobody wishes anybody to die. But the police are investigating. It's as if Ketia trying to tell me that when they were in government, people didn't die during elections. What did they do about it?
No, but Mr. Davis, you say you asked a question. You have to suggest that because somebody died and you allege nothing happened, it's okay for more people to die and still we do nothing about it? That's not what you're suggesting.
The fact that the police have not completed their investigations doesn't mean that the matter is not being investigated.
Is it acceptable to you that almost 2 years on, people are dead and we don't have closure?
I don't work with the police and I don't work for the police.
Yeah, but I'm
I don't work with the police
acceptable.
and I don't work for the police. I cannot guarantee what is fair or not fair. If the police claim they are investigating the matter, I cannot go and tell them that hurry up with your prosecution. There's an Inspector General of Police. I believe that question should go to him. But what I'm saying is that the system has to be made to work. It is not the first time that a prosecution, something which happened 2-3 years ago, is still being investigated and there's no closure. But there will be closure.
But you see, the system has to work. But the system isn't working in this case. At least you were a lawyer. Justice delayed, justice denied. Therefore, the NDC believes the Commonwealth must step in.
Evans, it is not always that justice delayed is justice denied. It is not always. You don't rush to court when you don't have evidence. You mean I'm a trained lawyer. You don't have to remind me. I am a trained lawyer and I understand what I do as a lawyer. The mere fact that, you see, there's a difference between civil trials and criminal prosecutions. So don't let us jump and muddy the two. In criminal prosecutions, investigations take a toll. Yes, I cannot be happy as a lawyer. Fine. That within 2 years, investigations are not being completed. So let us give the police some space. That is why they are there. That is why they are working. Unless you want to tell me that the police is not doing anything about that case. When was the last time anybody checked from the police where they had gotten to with their investigations? So don't let us jump the gun. And let me come to Asiedun Ketia again about this business of people speaking and nothing being done. Has he heard the kinds of things his MPs have been saying against government and the judiciary? Has he? He is in this country. Has he heard the kinds of things they have been saying? So that if a colleague, Sosu is my very good friend, he's a colleague. I will not say the kinds of things Sosu said. But that is his opinion. But I will say the kinds of things Sosu said. As a trained lawyer, I didn't think that he would have to speak in that manner. If they think that is fair, it is his own business. But once upon a time in this country, people have done things, and we, in the recent election petition case, when Dr. Ayeni fell foul of this contempt position, we were the ones who came around him. I don't think we should draw a divide amongst us and say that because it's MPP, NDC will have to, because it's NDC. No.
And very quickly, Mr. Davis, be that as it may, you have all these concerns. The NDC has filed a petition with the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. How do you interpret that, and what should your party and government do about it?
The mere fact that they have filed a petition or a complaint to the Commonwealth Secretary doesn't mean anything. The Commonwealth Secretary also will investigate the petition. They will go into the petition. It will not be one-sided. They will go into the petition.
I mean, Mr. Johnson said in Ketia, you've said that you want the Commonwealth Secretary to send a team of judges and legal experts to assess the adequacy and quality of the justice being administered to members of the NDC. Really, to what end? I mean, so they do that assessment and then what? What's the end game here?
The Commonwealth is an association of democratic countries that believe in certain principles of good governance. So if you don't practice those principles, you cannot belong to them. And there are occasions where countries that have flouted those principles have been taken out of the Commonwealth, have been suspended from Commonwealth.
So you want Ghana suspended?
We are not expecting that Commonwealth will send lawyers and judges to come and jail anybody down here or free anybody down here. But they will be able to assess whether our conduct is in line with the Commonwealth principles of good governance, for which reason we must continue to belong to that association.
So you want Ghana suspended?
That, my friend himself has created a problem. He just said that he doesn't work for the police, so he doesn't know the status of investigation. I am telling him that as far as the 39 killings are concerned, there is no investigation happening. No arrest, nothing. And life is expected to continue as normal. If that is what he thinks is a good standard of policing in the country, he should come out and tell me. And so he shouldn't be just be on the defensive and claiming that because you have this organization, it means that the organization is working well. Because you have courts, it means the courts are working well. There's a whole wild world of difference between having the democratic structures and weaponizing those very democratic structures against the citizens they are supposed to protect.
Mr. Sedunketi, I'm grateful that you joined me with your thoughts on this petition to the Commonwealth. Frank Davis, thank you too. What do you make of this NDC petition to the Commonwealth Secretariat? Share your thoughts with me. As you suggest there, they want a determination whether Ghana's membership of the Commonwealth can be sustained or tenable. 055-11-11997. At Vodafone Ghana, we are keen to help our customers stay connected with their loved ones, effective today, that is 28th February, and over the next 5 days. We are availing free calls and text messages for Vodafone customers trying to get in contact with family and friends in Ukraine. Additionally, Vodafone Ghana is offering free roaming services, calls, text messages, and internet for any of our customers who remain in Ukraine. We hope our customers and their loved ones are safe indeed. And that's from Vodafone, and they make Top Story possible together with Prime Insurance.